So this is a guy who's never missed a single payment in his entire life.
Yep.
He's never been late on a single payment in his entire life.
I've had the beauty of doing your mortgage, so I know.
Yeah, I got a pretty clean record.
David is squeaky clean.
Yeah, I'm a squeaky clean.
100%.
Praise Jesus.
Hey everyone, welcome to Prairiepreneur episode number, I don't know, but we've had a lot of them and they've been great. And so today we have a guest with us, a special guest. And I'm going to let Leslie maybe talk a little bit more about that. But I'm here with my co-host Leslie. And Leslie, why don't you tell us a little bit about this guy that we have got in here today?
Oh, no.
How special he is.
He doesn't get any special treatment. He's just like a regular guest. So you have to lead off with the first question.
All right. So our guest is David. And now business-wise, though, how do you want me to say it?
So David, tell us a little bit about your background. Where are you from? What businesses have you done? Where'd you grow up? Were you a nice person as a kid?
Okay, yeah.
You wanted me to lead in with those.
That's what you always lead in with.
Gotcha. I thought you wanted me to lead into the dojo.
Oh,
is that how I say that?
He'll get there.
Is that how you say it?
Well, in Korean, it would be dojang, but that's fine.
Oh. Who is David? Where are you from?
Minnesota.
Is it cold there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Minnesota.
This time of year. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And no, I was born in Robbinsdale, Minnesota at North Memorial Hospital.
You remember the hospital?
I remember that. Yeah.
How many siblings do you have?
4.
Okay.
2 brothers, 2 sisters.
2 brothers, 2. So there's 5 of you total.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm the youngest. Youngest of 5. They all still live in Minnesota.
Wow.
My mom and dad are still alive. They're up in Minnesota as well.
Okay.
So I'm all by myself down here in Wichita.
Wichita, Kansas.
Not really by myself. I'm with my beautiful wife, Leslie.
Well, there's the special. See, I told you there was a special aspect of this podcast episode. Yeah. But yes. Well, so tell us a little bit about your siblings. Are you close to them? They're all in Minnesota. You're the only one that came out here. I think I know why you came here, but tell us what got you from Minnesota to Wichita, Kansas.
When I was 18, I decided that I was going to join the Air Force, and I did that. Honestly, mostly just get away from.
He was running away from the circus.
He was ready to bolt.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you want to call my stepmother the circus, then yes, that's what I was running away from.
I hope your dad's not watching this.
He won't watch it.
Did I even introduce that this is Prairiepreneur?
You did.
Oh, I did?
Yeah, you said this is Prairiepreneurs, and we don't know what number it is.
Oh, that's right. Okay, good.
You're good.
I just wanted to make sure. We didn't need to backtrack a little bit. So you went to the military.
Yeah. Joined the Air Force, going to see the world, and
get out of the circus.
Yeah, the only world I actually saw was a whole bunch of desert. Otherwise, I got stationed in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It was my first Air Force base. Spent 4 years there. Really loved the mountains. Got to ski a whole bunch. Drove up to Santa Fe. We would drive up to Santa Fe Ski Basin and ski. We could drive all the way up to Taos. Taos was even farther. I was a skiing fool back then. Oh, it was fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And that's in Mexico.
New Mexico.
New Mexico. Yes. There's an old
yes,
and a new.
Correct.
See.
So,
that should probably be assumed, right? My New Mexico.
Yes. It is assumed.
It's assumed. People, it is assumed that there is an old Mexico out there somewhere.
So after Albuquerque, well, I guess I did get to see the world, didn't I? I ended up in Okinawa, Japan. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of.
So that's how you know how to say dojo.
Well, yeah,
correctly.
Dojo, yeah, but
that's Korean. That's not Japanese.
Here's the funny thing. So while I was in Okinawa, I was there for 6 years. Doing Air Force stuff, and in the meantime, my boss, who was the senior NCO of the command post where I worked, he says to me one day, I'm walking by his office. He says, "Hey, what are you doing after work?" And I was like, nothing. He goes, "Well, you want to go to the gym and do some taekwondo?" He goes like that, and I was like, "What is that? What is that?"
I don't know.
And I'm like, "What do you know about that?" And he goes, "Oh, I know a little bit. I'm a 6th degree black belt." And I was like,
"Shut up.
Get out of here. You are not." And he's like, Yeah, I really am. I was like, huh, okay. So I took him up on it and went over there, and it was him and his son, who was like 10 years old at the time, and he was already a black belt, and me. And he started teaching me martial arts, and it happened to be Korean Taekwondo. So the only reason I was learning Korean Taekwondo in Okinawa, Japan, was because my boss just happened to know that. And so anyway, honestly, it was mostly, I was just doing whatever his son was doing. His son was a little Billy Badass, and I was like, this is pretty cool. All right, I kind of dig this.
You wanted to be able to do the...
Right, the wax on, wax
I
off.
wanted to be able to do this. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's totally what I think of when I hear the word dojo or Okinawa. All I think of is Karate Kid.
Oh, well, Mr. Miyagi is from, he's from Okinawa.
Yeah.
That was in the movie where he was from. It was a good movie when it first came out. Yes.
It was very good.
Have you ever watched a movie, like you watch a movie when you were a kid, and then we're older, I'm 53, and we watched, what the hell was it?
Demolition Man.
Demolition Man. I got a hair up my butt, and I decided I wanted to watch Demolition Man. My God, it was so
sucked.
bad. It was so bad.
There was one redeeming quality.
That Sylvester Stallone was in it.
Yeah,
that was the only redeeming quality. It was so
That's
bad.
funny.
So anyway, but when I was a kid, it was such a great movie. Anyway.
Well, thanks for serving, by the way, David.
Oh, you bet.
Our country. That's a big deal.
You betcha.
You betcha.
You betcha.
Yeah.
So you were in the military. You're living in New Mexico. You escaped your circus home.
Mm-hmm.
Left your siblings behind. Are you close to your siblings?
Well, they were already out of the house by the time I left for the Air Force, so they were all on their own.
He's the baby David.
Yeah.
Baby David.
That's what they call him.
That's not what they call me. That's what my mom calls me. Still to this day.
And your sisters teach you about it.
The baby David, yeah.
That's the Minnesotan mom voice.
Yeah.
How far apart are you from your youngest sibling?
5 years. So my brother Steve
5 years.
is my closest, and he's I guess he's 58. Yeah.
So are you close to any of them today? Are you
What?
close to any of your siblings?
Yeah,
all of them?
absolutely.
A couple of them?
My two sisters, yes. My brother Steve, yes. My brother Paul, nobody's really close to Paul, unfortunately. He kind of sticks to himself.
He's a lone wolf.
He does his own thing.
Yeah, he kind of does his own thing.
So tell us a little bit more about the so you got into a dojo, or how?
Not really, if you want to call a racquetball court a dojo.
You
Seriously.
found a group of new friends.
A 10-year-old friend.
Of new friends.
Oh, I made friends with the boss, so I mean that had perks.
That
actually.
helps.
It did
Yeah.
have perks. I got out of a lot of nasty.
And you had to be pretty serious if there's a 10-year-old in the mix there with a black belt.
He was
right?
really good. I was so impressed at the things that this kid could do. So, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know, but when they moved to Albuquerque, to Okinawa, they were coming from Oklahoma. So they were down in Oklahoma City, and Joe, who was my boss, he put his son into this Taekwondo school down there, this Olympic style Taekwondo school, and Michael just was really, really good at it, and Joe wanted to keep him going. He wanted to keep him doing it. So when I showed up, we start doing some leg lifts and stuff, and I have no clue what I'm doing. And I'm watching this little 10-year-old over here doing all this crazy stuff, and I'm like, holy cow, this kid I've never seen anything like that. And this is 1992.
Okay.
So, we still didn't have all of the technology that we have today. We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have iPhones. We didn't have anything, We barely had an internet over in Okinawa. We had dial-up, with the modem.
AOL.
Yeah, and it squeals at you and
mail.
stuff. God, it was terrible. Oh, it was the dark ages. The struggle was real, my brother. I'm going to tell you. It was real. So anyway, so we just took off, and I got real serious about it. And I was like, this is so cool. This is something that I've always wanted to do. And I've got this little 10-year-old kid that I'm looking up to. it was
Looking down to look up
Pretty
to.
good.
It was
looking
really
down
weird.
to?
Yeah.
Looking down to look up to.
Looking up to.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So then it just kind of went from there. And then since it was in a racquetball court, they've got the door there. People are coming by, and before you know it, people are asking, like, what are you guys doing in here? And and one thing led to another, and then all of a sudden, we have 4 people in there, and then we have 5 people and 10 people, and then it got to the point where we're growing out of the racquetball court.
Wow.
We got so many people, we had to figure out where we're going to go. So there was a middle school that was on the base. It's called Bob Hope Elementary, or it was not a middle school. It was an elementary school, Bob Hope Elementary, and it had a small gym, and it was kind of a rubberized floor. And we went to the base, and they said, yeah, you can use that in the off hours, and we're like, sweet. So we did that, and then we filled that gym up. Before you know it, we had 40, 50 people. And at that point, then I'm a black belt, and I'm teaching everybody how to do this stuff. I'm showing
so you
them.
Unintentionally started a business.
We did.
Literally based on a hand wave.
Well, but it wasn't even a business at the time. It was a club. Nobody
It was the Cool Kids Club.
Nobody was paying anything.
You had a Facebook group page, or a Facebook group before Facebook. You had a group.
Yeah. It was great. We had a lot of fun.
That's a lot of people.
Oh,
50 people.
It got bigger.
From a 10-year-old, really?
It got bigger.
Wowzers.
It kept getting bigger. By the time I left, I probably had the biggest school on Okinawa.
Well, I think just the fact that you learned that skill and you brought it here, and then from there he opened his school, his entire business.
Yeah,
himself.
I did. I opened a school here as well. It took me a while to open it though.
7 years, wasn't it?
My kids were getting older. Megan was born in Okinawa, and then David was born here. And for a long time, I didn't do any martial arts. I just stopped doing it altogether. And once the kids turned, David was 5 and Megan was 7. That's when I started looking for a Taekwondo school, because I was like, I want to get them in it, Right. And I went and I looked at other schools, and I just wasn't impressed with what I was seeing. They weren't like what we were doing.
Right.
We were pretty hardcore.
So you kind of had a model. You built a model for yourself.
Yeah, I knew exactly what I was looking for, and I wasn't seeing it.
And then copied it.
So eventually, somebody was just, believe it or not, it was funny because there was a few people that were in Okinawa with us that were here stationed at McConnell. And they kept asking me and they were my students. They're like, when are you going to open a school? And I'm like, dude, I don't think I want to do that, man. I was kind of burnt out, we were doing Taekwondo 6 days a week, 2 hours a night. It was like Taekwondo was life.
On top of your day job.
Yeah.
In
on
the
top
military.
of the day. Yeah. On top of the day job. So it was nonstop. So when I got back, it was nice to take a break. So they're like, yeah, when you can open a school. And then eventually I did, out of necessity, really, because like I said, I just wasn't seeing what any of the other schools I wanted to.
But a lot of businesses get started that way.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, yeah.
Especially competitors.
Yeah.
Right.
So I started a school up in Andover. Found a little warehouse spot, 1,200 square feet, kind of basically the same size as a racquetball court. And it just began. The same thing happened.
Like a do-over.
The same thing happened all over again. And before you know it, we fast forward, I ended up expanding into the space next to it, and all of a sudden I've got 150 students.
You did?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
We had a huge class, yeah.
No kidding.
So what was one of the most successful things that you did that was your biggest money maker that nobody else was doing?
We started an after-school program. We started an after-school program where we would actually go to the schools, to the elementary schools, and we would pick up the kids. We had buses. Well, we didn't have buses. We had vans. We had 2 15-passenger vans, and we would go around. We'd pick them all up. We'd bring them back to the gym. We would teach them martial arts. They would have a snack, and we'd do martial arts. And then when we were done, we would make them do their homework, and then their mom and dad would come pick them up.
Wow.
So the after-school program came about because I was talking to my instructor, Joe Giampetro. I was still in contact with him the whole time because, I still had questions. I needed to talk to my mentor. I needed to talk to my coach. And
everybody's got a coach.
Right?
Everybody's got a coach.
Well,
so he's
you're
telling
in business, you should have one.
So he's like, hey, you need to be doing this. So I went down to San Antonio. He ended up in San Antonio after he retired. And he opened up a school down there, huge school. and it's still running to this day. His son runs it.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Now his son, the 10-year-old.
Yes.
Yeah.
The 10-year-old ninja.
Yeah. Who's now a millionaire.
No kidding.
He is a martial arts millionaire. Absolutely.
How do you do that?
You make a lot of money, and you just keep doing Taekwondo. Yeah, he's
built up that much wealth.
Yeah. Well, he has that many students, and it does
revenue.
Yep.
Coming from teaching martial arts.
Yeah, it does that well. Yep.
So we jokingly say
amazing.
When we've talked about David's business here, that basically he made 6 figures going to work in flip-flops and what looks like pajamas for 5 hours a day.
I did. Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, I was making well over 6 figures at the gym. Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, it kind of reminds me of, franchising.
Mm-hmm.
You build a model. You know how it works. And then you just go copy the model.
Well, and that's what happened.
You've already made the playbook. You know how you built it the first time around.
That's what happened with the after-school program. I went down there to go to his tournament. He was hosting a tournament every year, South Texas Open. And he's like, hey, I need you to come down and do some refereeing, and we'll have a good time. I was like, yeah, sure. So we go down there, and we start talking. I sit down at his desk. We start talking. He's like, man, you need to do this. And I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, I've got this after-school program, and I'm telling you, I think they were worth like $200 a month, if I can remember correctly. I mean, the amount of time they were there, it was like $200 a month.
It was equivalent
each
to a parent having to pay.
Yeah, it was
that
either
much.
That's what they were paying
after school.
They were paying me
for basically latchkey. It was
way better than latchkey.
Martial arts latchkey.
It was.
I mean, just saying, it's an after-school program.
It was exercise. It was martial arts. It was getting homework done.
It was somebody else forcing your kid to do their homework. That's genius.
The parents loved it. They loved it. Yeah,
it was one less thing that they had to do.
I came back and we started that off. Yeah, and it turned into a big deal.
So in marketing your business, you and I have had lots of different conversation about real estate marketing, and we've talked about some of the things that worked for your martial arts school. So let's talk about your initial attempt of marketing.
So Leslie and I, we've talked about this a whole bunch. I mean, we've had all these conversations because, she was asking me like, how do, some of the ways that we could possibly get the word out about her business. And I said, well, the one thing we didn't have a whole lot of money when we were trying to get this business up and running. So we ordered a bunch of postcards on, what the hell was it called? A postcard company online, doesn't matter. And it'll come to me in like a minute.
At 3:00 in the morning, I'm going to hear about it.
Members. No. It came to me right now. It's called Members Today.
Okay.
Members Today. It was a good platform. You go there. It's for sports, fitness, and martial arts type school. And they have all of these templates that are already there. All you have to do is put your name in, and off you go. So they ended up sending me all these postcards. Now, how do we get them out? Well, we could put a stamp on them, send them out, and then we gotta address every single one of them, or we could get more creative and go low cost and get Ziplocs and some rocks. So we put
Ziplocs and rocks.
Ziplocs and rocks.
Hashtag.
We put the postcard in a Ziploc bag, a sandwich bag with some rocks in there. I mean, some rocks. So
okay.
Pebbles.
And then we'd put them all in a box and
to weigh them down.
We would drive
Ziplocs, rocks in a box.
We would drive through the neighborhood
and just
chuck them out.
They'd litter.
I
went to the Pinnacle
boy.
So I went to Pinnacle up there on 143rd. They're really fancy. I should have never. No, there are no kids in there. Maybe they are. I don't know. Anyway, so I go in there.
It's like patio homes.
Yeah, it's a bunch of old people and the wealthy people live in there. And so we chucked a whole bunch of them through there.
You did.
Well, so one of the HOA
That's
guys,
funny.
he writes me a nasty letter. And he says, I found over 70 instances of littering in our property area. And if you do this again, I will turn you into the authorities. And
the HOA board.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
In the community you don't live in.
Yeah.
Right.
But you know what?
That's funny.
It was cheap and it worked. We got several calls off of that.
That's pretty cool.
I tell people all the time, it all works if you work. If you're doing something consistently,
but again,
anything works.
That's where
and you got to do it.
And you probably you could probably speak to this more than me because you're black. I don't know how many degree black belt you are, but it just seems that adversity always creates
absolutely
these
creative ways of
yeah.
Getting it done, or figuring out the next way to get the word out. I mean, yeah.
We were having a conversation with Natalie that owns Vortex earlier, and we were talking about all of the different things that you learn over the courses of other jobs that you have to take you into your final career, or who knows if it's final
like
career.
Building block, kind of like building blocks,
yeah.
businesses or...
And that's kind of how I see this. I mean, because I look at it now from David's perspective, my perspective of David and what he brought into the real estate business. I'm like, ho-hum, this is how it's always been done. This is how we're going to do it forever. And when David came on the scene and joined into the real estate business with me, he had a whole fresh perspective. He was very green into the real estate world. You'd bought 2 houses, 3 houses,
just
something, 2. Okay. So
in my whole life,
like all of the terminology.
So he wasn't like shaped and molded by the industry already.
I knew nothing.
He saw it from a consumer
from
perspective.
A different,
absolutely. Yeah.
I never saw it from, because guess what? When I started selling real estate at 24, I'd never bought a house before. So I never saw the industry really from a consumer perspective. I was already entrenched by the time I was buying real estate.
You and your ex-husband never really went out on deals together. You guys never really showed houses together.
Right.
And stuff.
So nobody even saw my business.
He never even said anything
to give any coaching to it, on a day-to-day or whatever, and give feedback. Sometimes I wanted to hear it and sometimes I didn't. But, so he looked at it different, and he was like, you need to, and the military background coming from procedures, and everything had a procedure and a checklist. And
yes,
it changed. I mean, it was just like, okay, so especially like as we started attracting agents to EXP, it was like, they need a checklist. They need to know, like, these are the things that you have to do as an agent. This is how this works. This is how that works. And I'd never done any of that. Like, everything was on a whim, shoot from the hip. Like, let's just go.
Ready.
Go crazy.
Ready, fire, aim.
You can't even say it. You have to slow down just to think it.
Well, his brain goes way too fast. Yeah.
It's the coffee. I can tell it's a lack of coffee today.
Are you okay, man?
And the utter laughter.
All right,
I don't
stand
think
up
I've
and do some
laughed
jumping
that
jacks,
hard.
Chris.
So I want you to understand something. The whole time that I'm marketing my business, and the whole time that I'm building this Taekwondo school, I'm still active duty Air Force.
Right.
So I told you I got to spend some time in the desert.
Right.
Oh yeah, that happened too.
So there's one of
in the middle of building this business.
So there's one of your roadblocks.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was.
So how do you handle that? Like when adversity comes your way, like how did you teach that in martial arts? Like how do you handle adversity?
Well, or how did you handle going to the desert when your business is still here and you're trying to run it?
Well, luckily, my ex-wife and my 2 kids were able to.
You trained people.
You trained people, and that was one thing that my instructor did teach me. He says, like, you have got to train a whole bunch of. His whole premise was everybody needs to become an instructor. He says, you're never just a martial arts practitioner. He says, when you get your green belt, he says, you're teaching white belts how to do stuff. When you get your blue belts, you're teaching yellow belts how to do stuff. And he says, before you know it, everybody is an instructor. And he says, and if you ever have to step out for any reason, the whole class will continue.
Yeah.
And it did. There really never was a financial.
So this is a guy who's never missed a single payment in his entire life.
Yep.
He's never been late on a single payment in his entire life.
Well, I've had the beauty of doing your mortgage, so I know.
Yeah, I got a pretty clean record.
David is squeaky clean.
Yeah, I'm a squeaky clean.
100%.
Praise Jesus.
Yep.
You know what? The Air Force, they would punish you for financial irresponsibility. The military does that. If you are financially irresponsible, if you're bouncing checks, they will punish you. They will give you a court martial. They will take away your stripes. They will make it worse. They will make it financially worse for you if you are financially irresponsible. So you just didn't.
They did a good job.
You pay your bills.
Yep.
You do not drink and drive. Do not do drugs.
Right.
Because you'll get screwed. They will shaft you.
They'll nail you.
So that is the biggest financial challenge.
How do you see what you did is different than what we do now?
What do you mean? What I did
from
with,
martial arts and
From
running that business
running a martial arts business
to
to
running this business? What similarities and what differences do you see in those two businesses?
Well, you have to deal with people.
So those are similar.
Yeah, I just had this thought.
We do have to have people that pay.
Driving to the office this morning that if you're in business, you're in the people business.
You're
got it.
in the people business.
If you work a job,
yes,
you are in the people business.
And the parents were tough sometimes. Sometimes they didn't like the fact that I was hard on their kids. I would yell. I was kind of old school. If you were screwing around, I would flat out yell at you.
You don't see that with real estate?
You don't see that anywhere now. Oh, God, they'll ball up and cry on you.
I yell after I hang up the phone.
It's a little different.
But some of the parents loved
days.
it.
Yeah.
The Asian parents loved it. They were like, oh, yes, I love that you yell at him. You hit him. Okay, it's okay to hit him, too.
Take the slipper off.
I'm serious,
Joe
man. I would have Korean moms. They're like, you hit him. It's okay. And I'm like, I'm not hitting your kid. Oh, my God.
He deserved it. He deserved to be punched.
Yeah,
but-
yeah. Oh, we were at a tournament, and this one kid, he was about 14, 15, white kid, and he was just being a big pansy, just a big baby. Where he's getting ready to fight, and he's out there, and we're fighting, and he's crying, and I pull him over to the side, and I'm giving him a what for, and I'm like, you need to snap out of it right now, and this Korean lady walks up, she goes, "Are you sure you're not Korean?" Not Korean.
That's so funny.
Yeah, man.
Oh, my goodness.
It was pretty hardcore. But a lot of the parents loved it because they didn't want to be like that. But it was good because their kids got a little dose of reality when they came to my school.
Yeah.
I've always said that the world is run on threats and bribes. That's just how it is. It's like you have to know when it's wrong and you have to be, more or less threatened to be punished to get you back in line of things, or you have to be rewarded because everybody wants a good pat on the back or pat on the head that they did a good job.
Right.
Yep.
People live and die for, a good job, an attaboy.
They do.
It's amazing to me what people will do for a gold star, or how long they'll stay at a company that's not even paying them what they're worth because they feel appreciated, instead of going out and starting their own business or going to a different company that the unknown is unknown. And so they just stay because they feel appreciated. So
Yeah. Well, I can tell you this. One of the things that my instructor, Joe Giampietro, was really, really good at was sucking. He was able to just suck every ounce of effort out of you and greatness out of you. And there was times you would go to a tournament and you would just do awesome. And then after that tournament, you would go to try to get, we talk, so how'd I do,
the accolades you wanted, the good job.
You're yearning for that. And he would just be like, yeah, you did all right. You're good.
Well,
it was fine.
I had to give you something to strive for.
And I'm like, really? That's it? He's like, yeah.
He never make it like you arrived, huh?
You could have hit that guy a little harder, I think. I'm like, are you serious? I mean,
I broke his jaw.
I knocked him out. What are you talking about? He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh. And I'd go home and I would bitch to my ex-wife, and I'm like, that asshole,
And did you try harder the next time?
Nothing's ever good enough.
Did you hit him harder the next time?
Oh, yeah.
It was good enough.
So it worked.
Yeah.
One last takeaway from David.
Are we
all
almost
the
done?
wisdom of David.
Wow.
You just want to stay here and do this all day. It's kind of fun, isn't it?
I know. When do we pull out the alcohol? That's what I want to know.
That's the after party.
Oh,
The after party.
it's not 5 o'clock
Yeah.
yet. Okay.
What's the one piece of advice? You just said something just a second ago, right before we went into
What not to do.
what not to do. Why don't we end with that?
Okay,
Why
one
don't
of the
you
things-
share with
I will
everyone
say one of the-
watching what not to do. What did you learn? What not to do?
One of the things that I think I made the biggest mistake on when I was running my business in Andover was thinking that I was the only person around, and my actions would not get around to other people. I wasn't always the nicest guy, and I was very arrogant. And if I ran a business now, I would do things way differently. I would not be arrogant. I would be humble. I would watch what I say to people because Wichita is such a small town. I had no idea.
So what brought you to that conclusion?
I had a few parents scold me after the fact. They would pull their kids out, and then they'd call me up and give me a what for, and be like, this is why we pulled our kids out. And you don't think about it at the time. At the time, you're like, well, screw you. I don't need you anyway. But now, I'm 53 years old, and you start
past the 30 and 40 threshold.
Yeah, you reflect on things that happened in the past.
You let some of the ego go.
You do, and you start to realize, like, God, I was such a dick.
But that's what happens with companies.
I thought it was just because I told you that.
Right?
Never.
Not the.
Never call me a dick.
No, I wasn't talking about that.
That's where I think a lot of companies fail, because companies can take on that kind of character, thinking that they're the only one. Well, just thinking that they're the only. They corner the market. They own it. And all of a sudden, here comes the Netflix.
Unless you're Elon Musk, you need to be humble. You need to not be arrogant.
You're Elon.
I'm serious, because he can get away with it.
Hi, Elon. You want to be on our show? We would probably fall over on the floor.
He can get away with it, man, because he's a badass.
Bring a plant to Prairie, Kansas.
Yes.
Prairiepreneur. Silicon Prairie.
Us mortals, we need to be humble. And yeah, that's the takeaway.
And obviously, if you want to look to someone that David looks up to in business and entrepreneurship, I think we all know who that is. To conclude the episode here,
who's that?
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
Oh, I thought you were going to say
Go check
yourself.
him out. Buy a Tesla. Not
He meant me, you jerk.
No. For a minute, I thought he was going to say you, and then I'm thinking he must be talking about himself. So much for being humble.
So much for listening to your last piece of advice.
All right, let's go buy a Tesla.
All right.
We kept it out of the
Thank
gutter.
you, everyone. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Thank you, David, for coming on the show today.
Thank you. It was fun.
That was great.